series. Let's jump in. Let's start talking about this next match already, because I know the players are actually already rolling to see who goes first here in TTS. Let's get cracking on this next game.
All right. The second game that we have for you guys is Willie B, also known as William Bradshaw, playing for the Card Guys against Kaiser Wong of Blue Pitch. Both players, excellent players. As you can see, Will has he's a ProQuest champion, and he's also. There is a rule now that you cannot use they reduce the penalties for having marked cards with foils because of the man on your left.
That was Will. Oh, poor guy. I remember hearing about this. Yeah, like if you have like some foils that are slightly cold and you can cut to them, like that became a whole thing, right?
Yeah, that was a game loss or something like that, and now it's been downgraded to just like a kind of slap on the wrist, like. Just a warning, right? Because of that. On the other side, we have Kaiser Wong. Kaiser, two times ProQuest champion. Also got top 8 at the Hong Kong Nats, the recent one in 2022. And he has 3 cute cats. So what can you say? Like, cats are awesome. And he also is the owner and runs a LGS in Hong Kong called Battle Phase. I've been there in the past, and they have kind of a cool tradition at Battle Phase. If you win an event there, you get to sign your name on this giant wall. I have 2 signatures there, I think, so that's kind of cool. The whole wall has just tons of signatures. Really cool.
I love that.
Yeah, and Kaiser also has it's not on this graphic, but Kaiser actually has my 1000 XP Dawnblade as well. So he's been that's kind of like a treasure for him.
And this guy, Kaiser was the big Dorinthia player for quite some time, right? The two of you.
Yeah, he was one of the best Dorinthia players that I played against. And actually, the best Dorinthia mirror I ever played was probably the mirror against him. Even though that was just a blitz game, that game was still seared in my memory. He's a great guy, very friendly guy. Got to meet him at. Him and Jack were actually the only 2 from Hong Kong to come to PT1, and then I got to see Kaiser again at Worlds. Always a pleasure to hang out with him. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna join that TTS lobby, and I guess we can get going.
Yep. So I can tell you that Will has won the dice rolls. So we have FAB versus Iyslander here, and we've sort of seen this play out a little bit before. It was actually last week, right? Anthony Pham was playing the FAB list against Sneed, actually, on the Iyslander. That was a tough one for Alex there. So we've definitely seen FAB start to become a little bit scarier again, especially now that they're bringing in... Oh, we talked about this, right? This resource redundancy to protect them a little bit against the disruption that Iyslander can bring, right? So the little minimalism package, making sure that you have enough resources to weather the storm, so to speak, here. So I'm curious to see what Kaiser has prepared. Kaiser, I mean, obviously a big Dorinthia player in time. This is what happens when mid-range players on Dory just get beat down too much by Iyslander, which is a really kind of challenging matchup for Dory. Iyslander definitely a mid-range analog, a bit more on the stronger end of the spectrum here. Dorinthia players have talked about how to play around it for quite some time. We've tried Jabil, we've tried this, that, and the other. But in this kind of matchup here, a lot of this is going to have to do with the construction of William's deck here, Josh, and ways that he can just make sure he has extra resources and can play around whatever Kaiser has to bring out here.
Yeah, so we've seen that FAB has kind of adapted to the fact that they're playing in a wintry metagame. I expect Will to have the whole belittle package, probably also running the yellow belittles. That's kind of the key here. If he's running the red and yellow belittles, like this should be his aggro plan should be pretty smooth. A lot of the disruption that Iyslander has is not very effective against FAB. Like hypothermia does not work very well because their stuff has natural go again. And things like Blizzard, it doesn't matter if you tax them for 3 when they have belittle.
Exactly. That's what we've been discussing, right? Just having some extra blues here. And that kind of gets given away sometimes about, when if we see the FAB actually try and get out there with a Searing Ember Blade, you can usually indicate to you whether there's some resource redundancy in their hand. They can afford to make a bit of a splurge in terms of rate. most of Fi's damage, obviously, coming as a result of those attack action cards. So I'm curious to see here what the first in is. Like a lot of Fires like to try and, leak some damage and then sort of pocket a card here. So we'll see how Will opens up on the left.
Yeah, he's very likely to try to just get a couple of points of damage here. Letting the Iyslander go. So one of the tough things about playing as Icelanders is you let them go first. There's some very, very ridiculous turn 1 starts that they can have, like Insidious Chill, or I guess it's not so relevant in this matchup, but Frost Hex as well. Yep. And obviously they get their Arsenal card. But if you let the Iyslander player go second, they start with Tempo, and their deck is full
stick a wounded bull in your face.
They'll stick a wounded bull in your face. It looks like an Epot Arsenal Pass. Excellent start for Will. That Epot is going to insulate against so much disruption here.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. That extra resource redundancy. Inline Strike, though, again, you talked about this. There is Tempo offered to the Iyslander here. Interestingly enough, like this is pretty common, like an E-Strike, something that sort of has go again. You can follow it up with like an E-Pot of your own, right? Or, Insidious is also pretty gross. I think based on the number of cards left in Kaiser's hand, it's more likely it's like an E-Pot. You really want to make sure you have an arsenal to play off of. So this is a nice way for Iyslander to start the game, right? We're presenting a lot of mixed damage here as Iyslander via these attack action cards, also via that arcane damage. It's really hard. It's difficult to sort of mitigate it here. And a Coronet Peak activation, this is going to keep Will off a full grip of cards to the next turn.
Yeah, the Coronet Peak here is really, really important because the difference between a 4 and 5 card hand as Fi is quite significant. It's less significant if they have a Epot already, but
done it.
Okay, speaking of that, okay. Wow, okay. That means he really loves his hand. That is super.
That's very aggressive from Will, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, that's I guess he needs his whole hand for things to function.
He's drawn a Phoenix Flame. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All
right. So it looks like he's going to make Will pay immediately, which he does have the ability to do so. But this is a excellently timed Blizzard here from Kaiser.
So before you can search the Minnowism, you have to pay for this Blizzard, right? Oh, that's gross.
Correct. So this is basically saying, hey, that follow-up card in your hand, that red in your hand, time to put it on the pitch zone, or your turn is over.
He's devastating.
Yeah, and okay, the Razor Reflex is a very, very unconventional card in Fi. That's interesting. We're gonna have to keep an eye on that. That's that is not a common card in Fi. All right, so he's like, all right, I will pay. I will grab a Minnowism. So the turn will continue here, and yeah, I guess.
Yeah. It's not great, Josh. Emberblade doesn't have go again right now. There's no Draconic Chain Links in play. So it'd have to be the Phoenix Flame and then an Emberblade. But there's a Frostbite in play. So that's a whole blue that gets eaten up to sort of present 4 damage here. And the Arsenal card is still active because that Blizzard came out of the hand at instant speed. So there's a chance that there's 2 Frostbites generated just from the Iyslander playing blue ice cards this turn. It's an Art of War.
Art of War, okay. Gonna pay for the Frostbite here as well, so that's gonna bring him
Banish
down
the
to
Phoenix
1
Flame.
resource.
He's thinking about it.
He should be at 1 resource here, not 2.
Yeah.
But I guess they'll figure that out soon. So banishing the Phoenix Flame, gonna get 2 random cards here. Generally, when you're playing aggro against Iyslander, you want to gauge the level of disruption from the Iyslander, and he still does not know the level of disruption from the Iyslander because the Arsenal card is still there, and looks like we're going to get more disruption here.
That is so good.
CLF on an Art of War turn is one of the best counters, and yeah, so we're gonna see Will try to make the best of this turn, but that CLF is basically gonna stick around next turn as well because I anticipate Kaiser is going to Coronet Peak him.
Yep.
Keep the CLF around and Arsenal card. So
it's like 3 turns for Will having to fight through this. Iyslander being able to play a CLF on her own turn, which doesn't get a flow counter until the end of the Icelander's turn. So when you play it in your opponent's turn, you're virtually getting a full free turn cycle of disruption from that card.
Yeah, if you thought the CLF was gross in Oldhim, well, it's even worse in Iyslander.
Well, at least Will gets to choose his arsenal from 2 cards here, which is great. I mean, that's essentially what he's able to do, because his next action is going to cost him 2 extra. And it makes perfect sense for the East Rite to be selected here. Now, I wonder if what the idea is here, if it's just a draw, make sure there's a card for Arsenal. I don't know how much Will's expecting to do with an Arsenal on the next turn cycle. Okay, it is draw.
Yeah, I think East Strike draw here is not bad, because generally anything you draw is playable, and how you're really going to punch through against Icelanders with a 5-card hand. The issue is that running 5-card hands into Iyslander is quite risky, because if they have enough disruption, like a CLF, or you don't have enough pitch resources and they play something like Blizzard, oh boy.
This is better than a damn Coronet Peak? My God.
That is better than a Coronet Peak, yes. So this is the classic 3-for-7 heal 1. And here's the thing. Phi doesn't block very well, but you can't really attack into CLF either. So what's he going to do here?
Yeah, this is where it gets brutal. So not only does your tempo get severely restricted via CLF, but you're now presenting damage from other angles, right? No arcane damage presented yet this game from Kaiser. It's just not been... This is why we call this Iyslander deck a mid-range deck. This is about as bad as it gets, because now, Will has to ask... I mean, Fly doesn't normally want to block in general, but he has to ask himself, can I even return something approximating 7 damage through a CLF on my turn? Plus a guaranteed, a likely frostbite from the Iyslander player. Now, it's not likely because you can see the whole hand's been used, so no Arsenal card for Kaiser there, which could be big. We're opening with the brand with Cyndaquil. These guys are going very, very fast in this kind of matchup, and you can see Will really wants to try and put pressure down. He wants to try and fight through this Channel Lake Frigid.
Yeah, this is his 3rd turn here, and we already see them into the 20s in terms of life total. So Kaiser does not have... an arsenal, but he does have the CLF to indirectly protect him. Okay, going to banish the Blaze Headlong. I don't know if that was entirely necessary, since Blaze Headlong is a Draconic attack, but that's fine.
Right,
Blaze Headlong.
This ain't bad for a CLF turn.
That is not bad. That is 4 cards for 11. That is as good as it gets, actually. So he should have no float right now.
Okay. He would also like an Arsenal card if possible.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he paid for all of this. 1, 2, 3, right?
The math isn't there for me. Yeah, the snatch.
I mean,
should that blue would pay for?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but I guess the player should catch that.
Yeah, I don't think we can't really intervene. So
yeah. Anyways, looks like we have a fused Aether Ice Vein, one of the yellow variety here. So saying, I want some tempo back, and this is kind of bad for Phi here, because this means his next turn is going to be pretty weak, and that kind of yeah.
This also demands Will's attention, right? You can kind of ignore a Findle's Fighting Spirit, especially when you're presenting like 11 damage through CLF on your turn. Mm-hmm. But Aether Ice Vein, I mean, Will is going to he's going to pitch one to Arcane, he's going to pay 2 off that, because of the this fuse effect here. So this is definitely disruptive. It's the kind of disruption that he can't really ignore. So I guess that's okay. He's blocking one of the Arcane damage, discarding Spreading Flames. Okay, so having a blue in hand.
Yeah, that feels really, really weird to pitch a whole card for 1 art.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess he technically blocked 2. Okay. Because the Waning Moon would follow up. Yep, that makes sense. Yep. Okay. So this is going to be a pretty off turn here. This might even just be an Arsenal pass from Will. Because CLF is still sticking around. This is
nasty.
Yeah. Anytime you can get CLF to 2 as Iyslander, you're doing things correct.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, the yellow belittle getting pitched is an indication there's no blue in Will's hand here. So his ability to fight through this turn whether or not there was an Ice Vein would have been pretty limited.
So conceptually speaking, the Mask of the Pouncing Lynx is probably the most important card to get value from as Phi. And because the CLF has disrupted you, I would be very... in general, I'd like to slow the game down so I can get value out of the Pouncing Lynx. Okay, we have a Fused Brain Freeze here. Has two choices here. Which do you think he's going to take?
That's a good question, really. The Ronin Renegade is such an important starter. I mean, I think Will tried to move towards his end step. So the question is now, for Kaiser, what card do I want to let my opponent put in Arsenal? And I'm not surprised you see the Ronin Renegade taken. It has that natural go again, right? Which is something that, while it might seem very plentiful for Phi, some cards just don't have that. So being able to start your turn with that, having that second Draconic Chain Link in the form of the Emberblade is really important. So, and now you know there's a really important sort of rupture effect in your opponent's Arsenal, should they ever have the opportunity to get a chain long enough to use it.
Yep. So because Kaiser knows that that's a Lava Burst, he will prioritize things that he might have had a choice on his Arsenal card, and Kaiser's going to make the optimal choice here to ensure that Will never gets to play that Lava Burst out.
Yeah. And again, he still poked some extra damage there. So that sort of life lead that Will had by, under dubious circumstances, putting 3 attack actions down through CLF, that's starting to dwindle now. Frostex is really interesting to me. I feel like that's just Kaiser trying to do something with that card. It's just, it's not the plan you normally approach with Phi. The game just doesn't go long enough, but now, if their Phi's turn's ever going to end with these Frost Hexes, then there'll be some damage taken from Frostbites. But normally, like Ice Eternal, Frost Hex, all getting pitched for the second cycle by Iyslander.
And so if Kaiser has another Blizzard here, this is going to be devastating because he has shown that he has 3 red cards here, and he desperately wants the blue here from Belittle. Any disruption here is going to be pretty painful, but Blizzard would be the most painful here.
Yeah, you need a hit that says, hey, you need to pay something, right? Yep. So that is, I mean, I guess Blue Ether Ice Vein is also an option out of the arsenal. But like you mentioned, Blizzard is, we don't always see that just come out of the hand and disrupt this fetching process here, but it would completely break Will. It's really, really hard to come back from that now. He absolutely, like you said, needs, because he knows there's at least 1 Frostbite's worth of disruption coming his way this turn. This gets him back on the board here. He does have a life lead already. He hasn't had to eat too many woundables or find those fighting spirits. There's a real chance for him now with a tunic counter up as well. This is where he has to go. And he's going to be able to dig for it. So, okay, sigh of relief.
Yeah, this is an extremely dangerous turn here for Kaiser because with Tunic and Belittle fetching a blue, that Lava Burst that Kaiser knows about in Arsenal can be played on this turn fairly easily. If Kaiser arsenaled a attack into Arsenal, or he just has very light disruption, just 1 Frostbite here, there's no stopping this Phi turn basically here, and we could even see a massive Pouncing Lynx. And this is an example of one of the weakest disruption cards for Iyslander.
Yep.
I mean, this is literally just give you 1 Frostbite here. And actually, if I was Kaiser, he does get to draw a card, but if this tells Will a lot. Will now has basically perfect information unless Kaiser wants to use Storm Striders here.
Yeah, and look, I think there's a misconception about Iyslander only ever using Storm Striders to try and win the game. It's not, you don't get the classic Emeritus scolding off Storm Striders every single game. Now we're in DEFCON 1. This is DEFCON 1. So we have the least disruptive spell out of Arsenal possible. Your opponent has gotten a Blue Minnowism and now has a Art of War. It is absolutely on like Donkey Kong. Let's not forget, Mask of the Pouncing Lynx is also still up. Will, as a player, I've noticed is reluctant to make use of that card. I definitely saw him a couple of weeks ago just not use it at all in one of his matchups here, but I'm sure you guys gave him enough stick about that. I'm sure it's a time to think about it. So, yes, Iyslander has an extra card to block with, but she's out of disruption unless there's Blizzards in play.
The only issue right now with Will's turn is that he needs a Draconic Chain Link, or else his turn gets very, very awkward. So him banishing the Ronin Renegade here to draw 2 basically is him saying, I'm going to rip a Draconic Chain Link off the top. Watch me. And let's see if he did it. So the Art of War has resolved. Priority back to Will here. What is his follow-up here? Or are they still in the damage resolution? So Kaiser actually hasn't taken damage here or blocked it yet.
Yeah, he's still considering how to block this. So the Art of War come in at instant speed, I think, maybe pumping it. We'll see how much life we tick down. Yeah, that was +1 to all attacks.
Yep, +1 to all attacks. Draw 2 here. If he has a Draconic Chain Link, this is going to get very, very disgusting here.
I mean, I'll just put it out there. Lava Burst yeah. You can mask one out. You could also Lava Burst. Can't you like Tide Flip as that? Give yourself go again.
Yeah. I don't know if Will runs any 2-power Draconic Go-Agains in his deck.
No. Lava Burst has base too, so it actually can get Go Again off Tide Flippers. Look, it's not going to happen. It's stupid, but we got the Blazing Hedgehog.
There we go. That's good enough. That'll do. Blaze Hedgehog here, going to turn on the Searing Ember Blade, going to turn on the Phoenix Flame activation. And there's going to be a lot of damage this turn. And Iyslander is going to be licking his wounds here pretty soon, I think.
Opting not to block that Belittle, so maybe concerned about there being potential on-hit effects, like Spreading Flames, I guess, Rising Resentment cards like that. We're not seeing any of those yet. For all intents and purposes, this Blaze Headlong is just a 0 for 4/5, Go Again. That Art of War, it's going to get a lot of value this turn, that +1 effect. Mask of the Pouncing Links, you might think that Salt the Wound could be a good target. There's obviously Phoenix Flame to get thrown onto the chain here. There's still 2 floating. You have a ton of options.
So the fact that Will did not use the mask on the first link kind of gives agency over to Kaiser to block the next attack, block the next attack, block the next attack. I don't know if it's possible, considering that this is an Art of War turn with Lava Burst, but it might be possible that Kaiser can just block out from here, deny Massive Pouncing Link's search. We'll have to see here. He's going to need a pretty good hand, but he does have 5 cards here.
Think of them also looking at Kaiser's equipment. The Metacarpus Node's an interesting choice. I know I think the Hamilton deck runs Iron Rot and Ironhide Gauntlets respectively. Obviously can help you answer things like Snatch and stuff. So Metacarpus Node is obviously in this case just extra damage when you're trying to kill your opponent, really.
Yeah, I think generally I'd prefer the more defensive cards, but looks like Kaiser went with the Node. I guess we can ask him after the game what his thoughts are on that. This is the most pivotal turn of the whole game here. If Will gets a giant turn here, he's going to have so much tempo that the Iyslander player will effectively have lost the game. Once you fall behind as Iyslander, it's pretty tough against a deck as consistent as Belittlefy.
Yeah. See Kaiser's cursor moving up and down across this card. There's some maths to be done. I think he's also calculating the vectors that his different body parts are going to be flying in if he gets hit by the full force of this turn. So
I think he's debating whether to use Stormstriders here. This is the thing is if you give him a Frostbite, that doesn't really do much here. This has to be like a fused Aether Ice Vein from hand for this to matter. And I think if he had that, he would have already played it. We did see he played Yellow Aether Ice Vein, which indicates he's playing the Rainbow. Yeah,
quite often, at least Hamilton's list, I think it's just a singleton yellow.
It could be, yep.
Which is pretty relevant again. Not many opponents. Listen, he could have done it this turn. But again, your opponent's not low enough life to threaten too much with just the arcane damage here. And the pay 2, that's already been inoculated against by the Minnowism getting fetched here. So that's a sigil. I've seen a sigil of permafrost in an Iyslander list for a long time.
Wow, since week 1 of Uprising, I haven't seen this. All right, so this could deal a lot of it.
It's not fused though. No, was it? Did he flash an ice card for that?
I don't know actually. I presume he had one.
We'll see. If he creates frostbites off this waning moon, then it has been fused. Yeah,
so I guess looks like Kaiser did not Waning Moon immediately, but waited for Will to use the Ember Blade, respond with the Waning Moon, give him Frostbites, so there's no Lava Burst now, unless that's a blue in hand.
My goodness.
Blue
Sigil's so interesting, right? Because it's a below rate defense value, right? It's a 2 defense reaction, but helps you with some of these. Oh my goodness.
Okay, looks like that's going to be end of the turn there. That was
he did use it. Oh,
okay, yeah. So that's surprisingly good defense there from Kaiser. This is all right. We still have a game here. That could have been way, way, way worse. Looks like Kaiser had that decision. Like, do I Storm Striders the Aether Ice Vein, or do I block and then use the Sigil Permafrost?
And he waited for the Searing Emberblade to swing as well, at which point Will just wouldn't have had the resources to pay through those Frostbites there. Exactly. So that maybe adds some context as to why we see Frostex actually played against a Fire at all. If there's like some density of Sigil or Permafrost here, then there's actually much more outside of just playing from Arsenal that Kaiser can do to stuff these turns. Something we haven't seen in ages. People really were not high on Sigil, but you can see a fantastic application. Covers up a 5 damage breakpoint. And then just shuts down a turn. Chef's kiss.
Yeah, that was a really, really great play there from Kaiser. I guess the same, like what we were saying about how Oldhim uses Stalagmite and Ice React, how an Iyslander disrupts an Art of War turn tells you a lot about that Iyslander player. And that was great disruption there from Kaiser. But we still have Fi with tempo and a 5 life lead. 5 life is kind of that murky area where I'm not going to say that Fi is ahead or behind.
Yeah.
With tempo, maybe slightly Fi favored right now, but this is still anybody's game.
I mean, 5 damage is Merida Scolding from Arsenal with a Metacarp.
Yeah, with Storm Striders, that's that 5 life lead goes away pretty quickly. And Belittle here, Yellow Belittle here, showing a
Soulbead Strike. Okay.
That is, I mean, E-Strike is too big to...
Yeah, you are conforming to deck building restrictions, I think, with this card. Soulbead is like, that is a conditional. That's your conditional go again there. So I expect to see that now to make sure that Will has plenty to pay through. So Kaiser's seeing 2 blues now.
So Kaiser did not respond with any disruption here, possibly because that's an attack action in Arsenal, or possibly he's trying to get. He's looking at this turn. He's like, "Oh, it's not that threatening. Okay, never mind." Threat level of this turn just went up.
Yep, that's a good use for that Soulbead Strike. Put that in the bin. Take a couple new ones.
Yep. Will hoping for some 0-cost Draconic Go-Agains. Ronin Renegade would be great here. Brand of Cinclaw also would be great here. And looks like Kaiser's going to take some damage off of the Belittle. Give Will the chance to grab a card off the mask. What do you think he's going to grab here?
I'm unsure about how long he wants to make this chain, because we haven't seen the disruption yet.
There's still Lava Burst in Arsenal, right? So this is going to be, Lava Burst, Tidal Whip, Lava Burst if he can.
Yep. I mean, yeah, that's which is super nasty. Shuko also is going to be turned on for the next base 2 or less here after Belittle's played.
Okay.
How many blues in this guy's hand?
Enough apparently to pay 3 for a Phoenix Flame for 1. Apparently enough.
I think it's 3, no? Pumped by Art of War, pumped by Shuko.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yep, you're right. Belittle, that Yellow Belittle is the first 2 power attack. Good catch there. All right, so this is somewhat threatening here, but I think if Kaiser has any disruption here, it's very face up what's about to happen here. It's going to be Sword Swing, Lava Burst, Tide Flipper, Lava Burst. So any Frostbites here shuts that down. So Kaiser, if you have disruption, now's the time to use it with Storm Striders. All right, Searing Ember Blade here, giving us the 3rd chain link here. Notably, it does not get buffed by the Art of War, so this is just for 3.
No, I think a Frostbite isn't enough, right? You can pitch from hand here for that first tide, for that first Lava Burst if there's any cost increase.
Correct. But I think Will wants to go Lava Burst Tide Flipper Lava Burst if
sure.
possible. Because especially with the Art of War turn, and if you can get the Iyslander down to low single digits, like she has to like go or defend on each turn, and that gets really awkward for her.
She may need to find a Strider's play this turn.
Yeah. So what Kaiser could be doing here is waiting for Will to activate the Tide Flippers, then respond with Storm Striders. That would save some damage, but it wouldn't really get any cards from Will.
Yeah.
So that would save some life, but you would lose Storm Striders, and that's kind of a disaster there.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Still nothing.
This is a very tricky spot here because we have double Lava Burst coming in at the end here. I don't know here. Like,
yeah, I think a lot is going to come down to when we actually see this Arsenal card played out. Eventually, I think Kaiser knows there's like 12 damage worth of Lava Bursts headed his way in a moment here. So Red Ether out of the hand makes me think that, the Storm Strider's Ether Ice Vein plane is dead.
Mm-hmm. Aper Hail here. Single Frostbite here. Will shut down one of the Lava Bursts if he wants to.
So his Lava Burst and
he had that in the Banish Zone. Okay, never mind. He didn't put it into his hand. My bad.
That's right.
Okay,
it was
so
like
he actually had an extra card. Through. Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought the Lava Burst was already in his hand. My bad. Okay, so
minimum 6 damage on the board here for Kaiser. I mean, there's not much way around it.
Yep. So Lava Burst here. Tide Flipper Lava Burst. Probably going to put him to 1 if I had to guess. All it takes is one good Auto War turn, one big turn with the Masculine Pouncing Links, and you can see what happens to Iyslander. This is not an easy match for Iyslander. This is a matchup where you got to play basically perfectly, and even if you do, I think we haven't really seen any mistakes from Kaiser. Like, the Belittle package just gives so much resiliency to Fi that it's really, really tough to do anything.
Yep. And so much depends on what is in your arsenal when they go for that Art of War turn, right?
Yep. And if there's any no blocks here, gonna drop to 1 here. All right. Okay, so gonna drop to 1 here, and this is really. So we've also seen Will. That's the second Razor Reflex.
Yeah. So
there's some threat of just dying to Razor here as well.
You are Kadachi locked anyway, in Phoenix Flame terms anyway. So this is an absolute.
And no arsenal here. We might actually see a Storm Strider's usage here just to stay alive here. But Belittle with Rising Resentment, this turn's going to go too wide here that I don't think there's much he can do. Yep. The Belittle will give him the blue that will allow him to fight through any disruption. So we're going to see at least 2, and then we're going to see 3. Yeah, this is going to be at least 4 wide. And and if there's any no blocks in hand, this is going to be the end of the game.
I mean, there's 2 blues here, so there's a Ember Blade, there's Phoenix Flame. You're probably too wide here. We'll see. Frost-Hex block. That hurts so bad. Flamefall digging a Phoenix Flame out of the deck.
Oh, we're going super wide here. This is where in Limited you would quell, but there's no quell here.
Yep.
And throwing the Tunic in front of that, and this is there we go. Wounded Bull getting him killed there. Well played there from Will. All right. And we see Will on Fi take down Kaiser on Iyslander. CardGuyz are up 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are looking great so far for that semi-final berth. What a way to open up. The Blue Pitch still looking for that revenge after the show match. They look like they might have to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, don't count them out though. They got some stellar players playing up next, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm gonna drag Kaiser and Will into the commentary booth here with us. We will give them a quick interview. All right, hello Kaiser, hello Will. You guys are on stream in the commentary booth. Very, very interesting game there. We saw, a pretty good defense, I would say, from you, Kaiser. Just you had the very good disruption on a few key turns there. But it seemed like on the second Art of War turn, there just wasn't any disruption for that, and kind of snowballed from there. Kind of just talk us through the game. What did you guys think about that game?
Well, you want to go first?
I'll go first. Kaiser put it pretty well after our match. He said 3 Art of Wars is too much, and I can agree with that, because I kept thinking to myself, like, oh, this Art of War turn is going to be great. This is going to make me win the match, and he shut 2 of them down.
Yeah.
That Sigil of Permafrost was so good. I actually thought on that turn, because I drew into a Lava Burst off of the Art of War, and I had a Lava Burst in Arsenal, so I was like, well, I don't need to break Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, but I could have broken it to get Yellow Belittle, which would have played around your Sigil of Permafrost. I've just never seen Sigil of Permafrost played against me before, so it caught me off guard. That was really good. I like that.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because obviously Sigil is so interesting because it gives you another way to inflict some frostbites outside of using your arsenal on your opponent's turn. What's the thinking behind bringing that in, Kaiser? And is this like, have you been using it for a while? Has it been working out? Do you like sort of having it in the list here?
Yeah, I always love to put at least one Sigil of Permafrost into the deck. Because people, if you are playing in a high-level matches, people will start counting on your Channel Lake Frigid and maybe Blizzard, something very key disruptions. So in my opinions, 1 or 2 Sigil of Permafrost can be the X factor of the games that people may just forget about it. So I used to love to play 1 to 2 Sigil of Permafrost in my deck, and it's also good to catch Ohim today's, because the Ohims today's start to be being very aggro in style, in order to have a chance to beat like Dash or something like Iyslander. If they are going to be very aggressive, they usually don't have much foldings left, and they don't run Heart of Ice, so you can have a chance to give out a bunch of Frostbite because of the Sigil of Permafrost too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I love this card to put on my list.
Just to follow up, Kaiser, I also thought seeing the Metacarpus note from you in this matchup was really interesting. I know a lot of Iyslander players maybe prefer something more defensive, like an Iron Rot or Ironhide Gauntlet there, just maybe to deal with things like Snatch. Tell us a little bit about what makes you sort of feel like you want to bring Metacarpus note into the Fi matchup.
Actually, I think if you try to prolong the games against Fi, if they are good enough, you are always going to lose, because if you are one out of Channel Lake Frigid or one out of the Massive Destructions, they just overwhelm you. So I will always try to do more life exchange with them, and in the end game, you can try to use the Metal Corps to do 2 more damage. Yeah. My theory is that if I use the Ironhide to block 2, I will just use the resources to do 2 more damage instead, because I want to close the game as fast as I can to avoid too much Art of War like this game, because when they can pay out all the Art of War and 3 to 4 belittle, they get too much resource to overwhelm you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was a very, very interesting match. Always nice to see you play, Kaiser. And I like Uber said, I really do think that Sigil of Permafrost is a very underrated card, and we saw the power of that in that game. Will, do you think we saw Razor Reflex from you? Is that kind of your own addition there, or what's your reasoning behind liking that card?
Sometimes hypothermia can just be so rough, or Blizzard. Well, actually, I don't know if I can get around Blizzard with it, but if they just kind of steal my go again off of a hypothermia, being able to get +3 off of Razor always feels nice. I feel like it's just a way to have more go tall potential. Mm-hmm. In retrospect, it maybe could have just been my yellow brand with Cinderclaw. But I like it. I usually bring one razor in against ice decks, just because sometimes on a snatch, when they're not ready to disrupt, it can be really punishing, and other times it's just a way to go a little bit taller.
You can also you can you can change your sequencing up a little bit, just because obviously you can get go again off of Razor Reflex, so you can come from some unexpected angles for your opponents, razoring a snatch, right, and still having that go again.
Yeah, the one of, or I don't know if you're running one or two, but just the cards that are not standard can throw off your opponent quite a bit as well. That's why, as soon as that Kaiser saw the Razor Reflex, he was like, oh, okay. All right, so there's some threat here of just dying to that. Okay. So anything that forces your opponent to have to think a little bit more is always welcome.
Yeah.
I felt a little silly using that energy potion so early on in the match, but
it was so aggressive. My guy is like frothing at the mouth to hit some damage here, man.
Yeah. I was like, that is dominance asserted there. What is going on?
I needed the whole hand to have a turn.
Yeah.
You can't let him take tempo this early. But we'll see. Kaiser wasn't going to let me take tempo without a fight, though. Kaiser, you kept surprising me with your shutdown potential. I liked it.
Yeah. Kaiser, I have one final question for you. Do you think that so normally you use Storm Striders at the very, very end of the game. Do you think that maybe using the Storm Striders on his third Art of War would have been maybe a play that you could have made? Do you think that would have been helpful?
Yeah, I think there's one good point. Iyslander is different to Kano. You don't need to use your Storm Striders at the end of the game most of the time. Yeah, but because I was wondering, should I use it at the second Art of War, but I got a Sigil Permafrost on hand, so I decided not to use it. And at the third one, because I don't have any good card that I can disrupt him even with the Storm Striders. So his life is pretty healthy on that time, like 12. So I can't do anything about that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes you just don't have the right disruption at the right time. So that's how it is. But overall, I think you both played very well, and that was a very, very entertaining match. Yep. And thank you both for being here for this interview as well. All right, so I'm gonna move you guys to the hangout lobby, and we will continue with the next match. Can you also clean up your side of the table as well, Kaiser?
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
All right, moving them over to the hangout lobby.
Yeah, I did. I wondered a little bit about the Razor Reflex because sometimes when you saw the earlier FAB builds that wanted to play around Mask of Momentum a little bit more, and you'd see a few of them try Ancestral or Razor Reflex just to guarantee the sort of on hit to sort of keep them going. A la mid rangey like Katsu kind of made sense, but yeah, I think it's interesting in that spot. I
definitely like the one of, because that already has to make your opponent think a little bit harder. They're like, all right, it's not just so simple anymore.
All right, so let me sell you on a new idea then. If you like that, why don't we talk about getting a 1 yellow pummel in your next Dorinthia list? I just want you to pitch
yellow pummel.
I want you to pitch a yellow pummel.
Yellow pummel.
On the first returns, your opponent is they're gonna pack their DAX, as we say where I'm from, because they're gonna wonder now how many of these attack actions are gonna come in with a big pummel. I'm just saying
that is interesting. Yeah, right. The one blue pummel maybe doesn't cut it, does it?
No, because they're cottoning on. They're starting to cotton on now, because I feel like we're going a little bit more in the CNC erase direction, less in the nourishing direction nowadays. So getting that on hit is crucial. But I mean, enough about Dorinthia. We'll get her later on, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Look, I think